Hello, Nathan Cox here. Well, a lot of you have always wanted me to do a drywall repair, kind of a how-to video. And a lot of times I'm reluctant on doing the how-tos because a lot of the jobs that I do, that a lot of people want to see done, are really a skilled job. And to really just watch a video, pick up a couple of items at the do-it-yourself, home improvement store, and slap it together, it doesn't normally work as easy as it shows in the videos. Now, drywall and paint, I'd have to say, is probably one of the better things to try to do it yourself on. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to do a all the way through drywall repair tip video right here for you guys. And what better place to start off with than in the garage? This is a place that if it doesn't come out perfect, you know what, it's probably okay. And good practice for when you need to make repairs in the house itself. So right here I've got a customer's garage. They called me up, I've done patchwork for them before, and well, you can see right here, they drove up just a hair too far with their truck and bumped the sheetrock. It doesn't take much of a bump with a vehicle to dent the sheetrock. I mean, all it takes when you got a few thousand-pound vehicle to dent the sheetrock is just to creep it forward just a hair too far. That's too far. So you see this big bump right here, this big dent. Now this is too far damage for those drywall patches. So we're actually doing a full, what I consider more of a large patch video here. I'm actually going to cut the sheetrock out, put new sheetrock in, and then texture it, and kind of take you guys through the steps for that. There's also, which is harder to see in the video, there's a second one right here. Oh, there you go, you kind of see, you get the idea right there. Not only is this one here is borderline too big for one of those patches. It is too big, but it's, some people might try to get too close. Say, well, it's close enough, I'll try to put one of those patches on there and fudge around it. Well, we got this one here right next to it on the other side. So this is definitely too big to be done with one of those little patch kits. Okay? When it comes to that, we're going to need to cut from stud to stud. So a few things you're going to need for the first part of this video is a carpenter's pencil, or some kind of pencil or pen, a level, and if you have one, or if you know someone who has one that you can borrow, a roto zip would be great with the drywall cutting bits. But if you don't, they have a lot of small, inexpensive drywall saws you can buy for generally under $10. Those work just fine. But when you use those saws, you must be very careful not to cut too deep because there can be pipes or wires in the wall. And the fact that we have an outlet right there suggests that our wire is very close. Now, more than likely, this being the garage, we have the concrete foundation down here. I'm sure the wires come from the attic and actually stop here. So I will probably not be crossing any wires in this patch because it'll be from here to the baseboard. But whenever cutting in the wall, you always must consider depth for the fact there may be pipes and or wires right behind there. You don't want to be cutting that because not only could that be dangerous to you in the moment that you cut it, but it can also just cause a ton of more repairs to do in the long run, okay? So let me prep up a few things and get you guys to the next step. Okay, here we are at the next stage, cutting out the drywall. Now, just by experience, I know that there's going to be a stud right here in the middle of these two holes. Outlets, originally installed outlets, are going to be nailed to studs. Now, after the fact, model outlets can be put in the middle of sheetrock anywhere, but I'm positive this is an original outlet, so it means there's probably a stud right here. So I'm going to be going about 16 inches this way and about 16 inches that way. This line you see I've drawn here is what we have a level. Making a good patch a lot of times starts with a good, demolition. A lot of people they would think tool this one man together, like, let's just take the base 20-pound sledgehammers or bust it through the wall. Even though demolition can be fun, it can be fun and stress relieving, it's also very important that it's done right. It's part of actually the prep work of doing the actual job itself. So a lot of people don't realize that, and they go a little crazy. So that's what the level was for. Is where you have a good level line to start with on top. Your studs on either end where we stop are going to be the other stopping points. So we're going to go from stud to stud, and then very carefully along the top of the baseboard. Now, the reason I like these roto zips so well, if you guys can see, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but the tip of this drywall bit, they call it guide point, and it's actually smooth. The cutting blade stops just before the end, and then the end of the bit is smooth, and that's what allows drywall guys to cut so nicely around things like can lights, electrical boxes, and for doing these patches is when I hit those studs, I'll actually just run right down the inside of the stud and have it perfectly up and down vertical lines. That's one of the things that makes this tool really nice. So, now this being a remodel project, I think it's also very good to have a shop vac close by to suck up the dust, and with that you need the proper filter bags for that. And for those of you who are not sure what I'm talking about, I have another video about the shop vac tips, which I'll just put a link to that in the description down below, so you can see what I'm talking about, because the standard filters that come with the shop vacs, when it comes to drywall dust, they get clogged up just like that. So, oh, here we go. Okay, now there's going to be some nails and or screws that are holding into that stuff. Other than that, it'll come right off. There we go. And that is why we take the time to draw the line up there. So now from stud to stud, straight horizontal line there, and a good straight line above the baseboard. So let me take you guys to the next step then. Okay, I'm going to throw in a bit of a pro tip right here in this last stage. Before we actually put the new sheetrock in. A lot of guys would say, now when you're at this point here, when you've got stud and stud, what you need to do is, because a standard 2x stud is actually 1.5 inches wide, is to measure half of that, which is 3/4 of an inch, draw a line, and then take a utility knife and continue to score that until you've got it all the way through to split the stud, if you will. Now splitting the stud is one thing when you're installing drywall onto a clean wall that has nothing on there. It's a different thing when you're trying to do it right here when there's already drywall on there and there's screws or nails in the middle of that you're going to be trying to cut over and around. Really sucks, and it also makes it hard to get a good clean line. So here's my little pro tip, little trick that I found over the years that I prefer a whole lot more over doing that, is get yourself a scrap 2x4 or even a whole 2x4, it only costs a couple dollars, and stick it in there. Now even if you have a 2x6 wall, you stick it in there, just make sure it comes all the way tight against the face of the sheetrock. Normally I like to cut it about an inch or so longer than the hole itself, so when I put it in diagonally and when I put it into place, it's tight from face to face against the existing sheetrock. Now this one here, like I mentioned before, I said there may be wires or pipes in the walls, so be careful on your depth. I said even though the outlet's up here, there's probably no wires. Well, guess what? I don't know why, it's down here. Right here, you can't see it, right where my finger is, just below where I cut, is electrical wire. Go figure. So even when you think there shouldn't be wires or pipes, there may be wires or pipes. So this board here is actually pretty much just the length of this hole. What you do, real simple, just stick it in place. And make sure, you want to make sure it's flush with the existing face of the stud that's there. So you put the new sheetrock on place, everything is all flush and lined up. Get yourself just a pair of 3-inch screws. Oops. Alright, where'd that bit go? That sucks when your bit falls out, right? Okay, let's try that again. Finish this up. Okay, that board is tight in place. Now I don't have to spend the time to cut that, to split it, to go over the nails or screws that are there, try to cut around them. I still have my perfectly clean drywall line that I've already made. Got one more board for the other side. I'm going to get that in place and take you guys into cutting the sheetrock.